Hello, thank you for joining us on another edition on Perspectives, coming to you from NTA Ijebu-Ode. My name is Jide Moronfolu. Today, our conversation is going to be around the engagement of school children during vacation and prevention of social vices. And seated with me in the studio today to discuss about that is the chairman of NAPS, National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, Ijebu-Ode chapter. My guest today is Dr. Pastor Okusoya Olusoji Abayomi. You're welcome, Doctor.
Good morning,
Thank
sir.
you for coming.
Good
Thank you.
morning,
God
viewers.
bless you. Learning shapes every part of our daily lives. Knowledge gives us the power to shape our world. But wherein lies the efficacy of education when character and morals are lacking to the detriment of our society? Today, Doctor, once again, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you, sir, for having me here.
As a proprietor of a school, how does grooming and training of children looks like rather? And how impactful is the four wall of classroom on the academic performance and the moral attitude of students? What's your thought?
Actually, when we talk about grooming, when we talk about the impact of grooming on learners, on their moral life, on their academic life, well, we are talking about a very great thing. And that's what school majorly is all about. Learners are brought to schools. Parents says, please have this my child. This child need to become learned. This child need to be well behaved. They've brought them to school. So it's our own responsibility. And that's what we've been doing to make sure that they are taught. You see, in education, we have three psychomotor.
Okay.
When we say psychomotor, we mean three main domains in education. We have psychomotor domain, we have cognitive domain, we have affective domain. Affective means train these learners to know how to behave. Cognitive means train these learners to know A and B, one and one, and to be intellectually balanced, to be okay, to be intelligent. That's cognitive. Then psychomotor says train this learner to know how to use their hands. That's what gave birth to this issue of vocational training and all that. So we groom learners to be intelligent academically. We call it train them to be well behaved in society. That's our focus. That's what we do in schools.
Now, there are school of thought now, schools of thought. Their school students are on holiday now, and it's expected of them to use. It's a norm in Nigeria. We know in other climes, they will go on holiday and they will use that holiday to relax.
Okay.
But in Nigeria, it is a norm that they will go for coaching and all that, moral classes. That's our belief in Nigeria. But another it's a mixed feelings anyway. Some people will go for against. But about your own, what the side of the divide are you now on that?
Yes, actually, as you've said, sir, in Nigeria we believe these 7 weeks should not be used to relax. You see, in Nigeria we are hardworking when it comes to academics. Very, very hardworking. And that's why we feel 7 weeks not learning, not going to school is not helpful to our learners. And that's why we engage them for about 4 weeks, some schools 4 weeks, some schools 5 weeks. So they still have some weeks to relax, to travel, and to stay with their loved ones. So what we believe is that 7 weeks should not be used to play. It will affect what they've learned. It will equally make them to be idle. And there is this adage that says, an idle hand is devil's workshop. So in Nigeria, we believe they should be engaged. And that's why the vacation school is never from 7:30 to whatever. It's just 3 hours. 3 hours. Just do something. Just keep your brain, working, not full work and not just playing, not doing anything. So it's very, very important planners are engaged during the vacation to avoid them being instrumental in the hands of all these, vagabonds around to sending them here and there, because parents will have gone to work. So leaving them at home for 7 weeks without doing anything can happen to them. That's why engaging them is very, very important.
But in Nigeria, we lay emphasis on paper certification than practicality. So how do you see that as an education?
Actually, you're right, because it is believed that anybody that will be put in a place, that's what we call round peg in round hole, and it is certification that makes us know that this person is qualified to do this. However, we've seen many people that have certificate, but the real practicality of it is they don't have it. They only have certificate, they don't have the technicality, the technical know-how, the modus operandi to get the thing done. So the two go side by side. When you have certificate, you must have the technical know-how. So in Nigeria, emphasis truly is on certificate. However, in some establishments, you must have certificate and also have the technical know-how. Like in our own school, in many schools too, anybody you want to employ, we see your certificate, okay, you've gone for education, you're a graduate, good. We also take them to the class, teach. What do you have upstairs? We give them interview. Not just you've brought certificate. We want to know what you have upstairs. We've seen your certificate, oh, you have 2-1, that's good. You have first class, that's good. Come to the class, come and teach. Then we give them exam. Teachers to be employed in our school, they do exam. We want to know what you know about this thing. And so we don't just depend on certificate, we also look for technical know-how.
Let's take, for instance, now, College of Education. Okay. We didn't have to go seamless from the second school. We will go through, it has stages. College or secondary school, you go to grade 2 teacher, teaching grade 2 before you go to college education, before you done. But now, grade 2 something is out of it. Either people are not even conscious of going to college, they want to go to universities now. That brings to shortfall in the number of maybe capital development. Unlike in China. China, at the time, it was the most populous country in the whole world. But now, India has overtaken it. But China, from the grassroots, from the foundation, they will be taught of vocational training. But in Nigeria now, so how do you see the policy of this presidential government in returning the vocational training into our resume, to our curriculum over time?
Actually, it's a very welcomed, long-expected development. It's welcome, and I just want the government to be consistent about it. Focus on it, fund it where funding is necessary. All the personnel needed, let it be brought in, so that it will not just be a paper talk. It's a welcome development, because, as you've said, sir, in China, I have this video, even at the kindergarten level, sir, you see them being trained to produce this, at kindergarten level, now graduating to primary school level. They are trained to do this, and that's why technically or scientifically, China is really, really ahead. So it's a very welcome development if the government can please fund it. And our government, there is what we call transition, and our government will take over. There should be consistency. They should please continue. Not that another person will come and say, okay, that's past administration project. We have another way to focus on, they will rubbish it. It should be continuous. And you equally mentioned the issue of a grade 2, those days, that made teachers to be well paid. And then from grade 2 to NC and all that. Well, actually, the issue of certification, emphasizing certificates over being knowledgeable, has brought that in. Now, if you don't have degree, very soon you'll be phased out of teaching. The thing is on. Only those who have first degree will be allowed to teach, because now the emphasis is on you must have first degree. So when you say somebody must have first degree, and you're saying wanting the person after secondary school to go to grade 2, to now go to NC, and now have the grade 2, that's almost 8 years. When you can just quickly go for it for 4 years. That's why the issue of grade 2 is being phased out gradually, because Nigeria is now emphasizing you must have first degree before you can remain in the classroom to teach. NC is gradually not being recognized. Not talk of grade 2. So that's what's happening. So the issue of technical whatever and vocational training, government should please make it to work. We need it.
Thank you, sir. Let's back to the holiday issues again.
Okay, sir.
We know that Nigerian economy is somehow now. Okay. Everybody's feeling the pinch. But how now students are going for extramural classes now, but as the proprietor and the chairman of that body, what kind of interface you have had with your members, the other schools, that will make that extramural coaching to be affordable to parents, okay, considering the situation of economy in the country now?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Actually, all schools, to the best of my knowledge, unexpectedly, will have considered what is happening around in charging fee now for this holiday coaching, because even if you charge too much, there are free holiday coaching all over. Politicians are, having free coaching here, free coaching. So if a school, their charges too much, learners will not go there. Parents will say, please go to that one that is free. Cool. So proprietors, they are aware of that, and that made the charges not to be on the high side, so that it will be affordable for parents, and so that it could have some of the students also coming to them. However, we can see one or two that are not considering that, and they charge very high. Yes, there is no way we have people like that among us. They want to maintain the fact that come my school, we charge this, we charge that. But generally speaking, proprietors considered that things are not too fine for parents in town, and so the charges are not that much. Like in my own school, we charge what we charged last year, or almost what we charged last year. So we say charge just to make it affordable for parents. So I know some other schools did the same, so that it will be affordable. So
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
We want to go on interlude now. Before we return, I want to ask you a question about the negative peer pressure group. But when we come down to return, let's go on interlude now. Thank you. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the perspectives on NTA Ijebu-Ode. My guest is still the NAP chairman Ijebu-Ode chapter, Dr. Pastor Okusanya Abayomi. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now, with the negative pressure group, peer pressure group in the country now on the rise, which gives for room for moral and societal decadence. Because there's no need for us to think that we are educating people when at the end of the day it brings back a blowback of deficit character and all that will bring our country into disrepute. So now, how do you manage that? Because in schools now, there's no way you won't have some children with some parents who are given to kind of, you don't touch my children, you don't do that. They will be giving to they will be teleguiding you as to how you treat their children, and perhaps so how do you manage that aspect?
What you just mentioned now is a very serious issue in schools. Peer influence, very, very, very serious. Actually, we are trained to manage the situation. We are trained to handle both parents and learners, and even our teachers too. Peer influence is causing real havoc in the life of learners. Like I heard recently about a girl, not in my school, and not even in Djibouti also. This girl, she has body. Her friends, they influence her that come. You don't have boyfriend. As big as you are, even we that are not as big as you are, we have two. You that is you don't have one. The girl felt, come, am I lost? Do you know what? They look for a boyfriend for her. Eventually, there was problem. Peer influence is so strong. And some of these learners, students that are influencing their friends, they are from bad homes. Bad homes because some of their parents too, they are very bad. Some of their parents, you see them smoking, carrying drugs, carrying drinks, selling drugs, selling drinks, selling beer, selling all those things. Those ones will come to the school and come and be influencing their friends to behave the way they are behaving. We even see some of the students, their parents, the men, they will be put on hearing, Baba, Mama, Baba at home. You see them, the way they dress. What do you expect from the students? And these students now will come to school and come and influence their friends to dance to their own tune. So it's a very serious issue in schools, but thank God we are containing it, we are controlling it. Now, as per the issue of parents who want to teleguide the school, who are not allowing the school to discipline that, we have them, but it has to do with the owner of the school. When the owner of the school commands respect, and you tell the parents, this is what I do in my school. Like in our own place, from entrance exam and from admission form, we've put it there, it's there in the instruction. Parents must not fight with teachers. Parents, if you have any question, please come to the school. Don't fight teacher, don't abuse teacher, don't do anything. Then we control this. We control this in the way we want to control this. So if you are now having an issue with it, you come to the office, you complain, we handle it. Some of our teachers could be excessive, we know. They could overbeat, we control them. We are the one to control, not you. I've had cases of parents coming to us and say, please call me that teacher. I will say, no. I won't call out my teachers. What is the problem? Okay, come, follow me. How will you handle the teacher? Because when you call out a teacher, you are lashing a teacher. That teacher will not teach your child again. And your child will not respect the teacher again. Your child will not even learn again because... So, I educate the parents and most of them has been cooperating. But some that will not cooperate, I send them out with the learners. Please, you can go with your child. You don't worry, you can go to another school. And some will now come down and cooperate with the school. So, it's a very serious issue, but God is helping us, we are containing them.
Thank you, sir. You know, one thing, I still want to go back to that issue.
Okay.
How do you navigate between the standard of your school and the money you are making? As a chairman of the body, of your body, is there any uniformity in the kind of standard you lay in your school, running of school? Because what I'm saying is this: when you say that you set a standard, our parents are trying to rock the boat of that standard to your detriment. Do you give in to that rocking the boat as against the money you make at the expense of the pupils and the kind of the standard you lay, so that it will percolate down to your members within that association?
Actually, it's very relative and it depends on so many factors. We try to strike a balance. In some cases, when parents come to complain, maybe their children have been beaten or they've been not been treated well, or a complaint has come from a student and the parents are in school or they are calling, one will try to strike a balance because this is a customer that has come to complain. You don't just say, no. You listen. One will listen because I'm making money from this person. And this person has a complaint. I have to listen. There are times we pipe low to listen to the parents and hear the person out and apologize where apology is necessary. But at times, looking at what the parents is bringing, we have to just say, no. In our own here, in our standard here, we don't allow this. We take our stand. Recently, a woman came to the school. She was shouting from the gate. As she was shouting, I was in the school. I had to tell her, go out. I told the children, follow your mommy, go out. Please, you can go elsewhere. Before she now calm down. There are times we maintain that standard, but at times we also bow. I mean, we try to...
Flexibility.
Because at times the parents are right. We've had cases where teachers overbeat or they behave unexpectedly to some learners, and parents have the right to come around. So we try to strike a balance. We are making money from them, But at the same time, we have a standard they must cooperate with us to uphold.
Thank you, sir. And now, I want to talk about discipline of students. We are in the situation where parents take an exception to discipline their students. You know, some people will not allow, want you to beat and all of that. And there's one, my pastor in Lagos, my church, he has a school in around that Songo or so. He told us in the church that maybe there is this policy in Ogun State that you don't beat in public school. Maybe it comes down to private school, I don't know. So how do you handle that exceptional situation of you should not discipline their children? How do you do that?
Actually, in the policy of education, because we are following American policy, you know, and all that, corporal punishment is not allowed per se. The only way it's allowed is that the head of the school should be standing when corporal punishment is to be administered, and it should not be more than 6, and it should be documented in the punishment book. So that in case of any referral, we say, okay, come, yes, your child was disciplined and I was there. It was not too much beating. That's the rule. However, the government too has realized that this thing is causing problem, moral decadence. So there is a little digression that we are allowed to discipline, not officially declared, but in a way allowed. They were to discipline learners. What the government of Ogun State now did is this, through our able Commissioner of Education, Professor Mariba, in our SETCOM, we've seen learners misbehaving, causing serious problem in school, and we've seen parents coming to the school, insulting teachers, fighting teachers, slapping teachers. We've heard of learners going to meet teachers at home, like what happened in Ekpe. They went to meet the teacher in his shop, they shot him. Take on the school students. They shot the teacher. For a learner to carry gun and shoot, it shows the level they are operating. So what the commissioner now did is this. He gave a law. Any learner that misbehave should be disciplined. If the parents should come to school and constitute nuisance, the learner will be expelled. No school in Ogun State will admit that learner. Such parents, if they want the learner to be admitted back in any of Ogun State school, parents will be disciplined. We've heard of cases now parents going to school to sweep as a form of discipline because of their misbehavior in school. So all those things are helping us now to be able to administer discipline. When we say discipline, it's not just beating, not corporal punishment. There could be punishment, there could be suspension, there could be, correction, verbal correction and all that. At times parents are invited. Normally it's a shame to them.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. Now let's go to when we talk about academic excellence. It's a shame of our education system to have the kind of productivity or output of that kind of graduates coming from that angle, and when they get to labor market, they won't be able to do anything, and more worsening, you get them maybe through the back door into an organization and they begin to mess up there. So how do you tackle that?
Yes, you have just mentioned something very, very serious that is happening and biting very, very hard on our educational system. Examination malpractice is serious, sir. Actually, we are aware, and we also know some schools that are into it. We have engaged them severally, verbally, even punishment-wise. Like recently, we had a meeting, the ZDO was there. We told the ZDO we want to set up a task force. Schools that are engaged in malpractice, we want to do some things about them. In fact, what we are focusing on that day has to do with the issue of admission malpractice. Because when we say there is malpractice at the top and the product is non-employable, unemployable graduates, it starts from somewhere. When proprietors will admit primary 3 into secondary school, primary 4 into secondary school, because of the money they will be paid. So we were tackling that day, and we set up task force. You are asking, how are we handling it? That's one of the things we are doing. Fishing out people who are causing problem, who are not following the standard, causing rottenness in education standard. So at that grassroots level, we've set up a task force, and some of the people that are doing it, a task force is already working on it now. We've told all members, any school you see doing that, report to the task force. And the task force, there are people of integrity who will take no nonsense. No, they will not take any nonsense. And they will report the school, and appropriate measure, punishment will be meted out to the school. That's that in that context. Now, the issue of examination malpractice, like the present administration, the commissioner is doing a lot in Ogun State. This present commissioner, Professor Bayo Ribabu, to see that malpractice is reduced to the barest minimum. Though the effort is being frustrated. But he's trying his best. Like now, recently, so many schools we admit, even mechanic, we register mechanic to come and do work in their schools. No, if mechanic want to do work, no problem, let them go and do GC, not internal exam. But these people will bring them in, they will give them uniform. These people cannot write, they can't read that, and they will have A's in their results. Now, see what's happening now. The work result that is released recently is a mess. It's a mess. Why? It's malpractice. Go to schools where learners who cannot read are registered. You will see them giving them A's. Go to schools where learners burnt midnight candles. You will see them being failed. I'm glad the commissioner is looking into this now. There are letters written. In fact, I listened to a broadcast. Somebody has even called the commissioner, the Minister for Education, to look into this. Why is this happening? Why will learners read, study, burn midnight candles, only to see their result and be weeping? And those who cannot read, who are dullard, they will see their result, they will be laughing. Hey, yes, I got everything. They gave me everything. And they will not be mocking those who are studying there. No more way, no more way. It's you that is a vehicle, see us. And those will be regretting. Why did I even read? So it's a very serious issue. We want the government to please do all they could to stop this. It's biting and it's increasing, sir. Many schools now are tempted to join. Like in Ijabo, those who are not doing malpractice, they know us. By God's grace, I'm one of them. I don't allow it. And I have other schools too. They don't allow malpractice in their school. But we have many, majority, involved in examination malpractice.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Yes. We hope that government is hearing and they will do something about it. Viewers at home, for a while now, we have been on the issue of engagements of our children on holiday and the prevention of our social vices in our education system. My guest in the studio now is Dr. Pastor Abayomi Okusonya. He's a chairman of NAPS Ijebu-Ode chapter. Thank you so much for coming, Doctor. Yes, viewers at home, here's the size of the program we have to you today. I think we did justice to that. We'll be expecting us to meet some other time again. Thank you so much. We appreciate. See you another time. God bless you. Bye-bye.